What's going on, everybody? Rich Perez welcoming you back into your weekly rundown. Joined in with me, as always, my brother from another, my co-host, all the way from the 305, Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing good, brother. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Can't complain. Actually, just got back from a wedding. Congratulations to Randy and Kamaya Smith on their beautiful wedding ceremony. We had an awesome time, man, celebrating love. But we're back now, and we're getting ready to gear up for the 2024 NBA Finals. It is now here. We're a day away. It's the Boston Celtics versus the Dallas Mavericks. And, I've said it, I think, on the last two podcasts, man. Boy, do I love me some storylines, and there are storylines going in here. Now, before we get into this finals matchup, which is going to be a nice one, let's go ahead and get into how these two teams got here. So when we last left off with you guys, we were getting ready for the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals, Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers and the Minnesota Timberwolves up against the Dallas Mavericks. We know that Dallas was a little bit too much to handle for Minnesota. And then we could definitely say the same for the Celtics going up against the Pacers. People wanted to talk a little bit about Halliburton missing a couple games. I'm here to say that that really wasn't going to change much, especially when you consider you had Spicy P still there for the Pacers. How much were you losing? I mean, don't get me wrong, you're losing a lot. You're playing without a point guard, but still, star power, not too much. So Boston ends up closing this thing out in 5 games, about what we expected. I gave them 5 games. Again, this we should have a conversation about how this postseason goes, but how this postseason's been going, but maybe for another day. Um, I don't know. What did you see? What were your takeaways from the Eastern Conference?
Obviously Boston was the better team. We all expect Boston to kind of come out with the win there. I think if you watch the series, the Pacers had a Boston will give you a game. Everyone knows if you look at their first two rounds against um, Miami and Cleveland, they Boston will give you a game. These have these mental lapses where they'll give you a game, and they tried to give the Pacers a couple games. They just gave the games back. The Pacers, you could say, probably shouldn't have been there if Giannis is healthy. If the Knicks are maybe healthy in that game 7, they probably shouldn't have been there. So maybe the moment was too big for them. Obviously, Halliburton got hurt, but the outcome is the outcome we expected. It's just you can either say the Pacers played better than we expected to have a chance in those games, but what it really came down to is the Pacers maybe wasn't ready for the moment and kind of gave those games away. And the Celtics are how they've been over the last couple of years. They'll give you a game, and they kind of think they can kind of like turn it off and on. Obviously, this playoff run hasn't been as maybe exciting for them. I would say they haven't been maybe have to have been as locked in, but yeah, the outcome was what we expected. Indiana tried to Boston tried to give some games away. Indiana gave it back, and Boston won.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I want to speak to when we get into the finals matchup itself. Yeah, I'm totally with you on everything that you said. The Pacers fought as about as much as they could, even without Halliburton. It was just a tale of one team we're not talking about it enough, but the Celtics are kind of a super team against a Pacers team that has their star point guard and another really nice player in Siakam, and then just kind of put together with a nice crew of role playing guys. No disrespect, but there's really not much I can like add to it other than like, Boston was Boston and real literally Boston in that series with the game that they did give up. And they were able to close out, take care of business in the end, and they're back in another NBA Finals. Let's go ahead and move on to the Western Conference now. Another one that ends in 5. We had the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Dallas Mavericks in a series that I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought that this would get pushed past 5. I was a little surprised. Carl Anthony Towns reverted a little bit. He had some games that were not so good for him. He went and acknowledged that. I think even for Ant-Man, the moment was a little bit big for him too much. He went and calls out Kyrie Irving saying he's going to guard Kyrie, and that didn't really work out too well for him. And I mean, don't
Can
get me
wait?
wrong. Go,
Can
go
I
ahead.
say
What was
something
your...
about that? I don't like. He called them out, but he didn't call them out. He wasn't like, I'm about to lock Kyrie up. He just
Yeah.
said Kyrie is my matchup, which is like that's his matchup. He wasn't like, man, I better shut Kyrie down. He was like, yeah, I got Kyrie. I guess I see how it comes off of like, okay, you got me, all right. But he wasn't like disrespectful with it. Like, yeah, I got Kyrie. I'm about to shut him down. He was just like, yeah, it's gonna be fun. My matchup is Kyrie. I got Kyrie. You know.
It's not he definitely wasn't disrespectful about it. And to be honest with you, it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, Kyrie is straight embarrassing him right now. Because I mean, Kyrie is no one can just simply guard Kyrie, period. Some of the best defenders in this league have troubles guarding Kyrie Irving because Kyrie is Kyrie. He's one of the best players in this league, one of the most gifted finishers in this league. He's a magician. He's a wizard. My thing with it was he just couldn't keep up. At all, and as specifically in game one, and it just really showed as the game wore on how tired he was. Just that's what killed it. So if I don't maybe I don't want to blame Ant-Man so much for the comment, not even a comment, just like the performance post comment as much as I probably should, and I will blame coaching on that one because I felt like one of the things that lost the not Mavericks, the Timberwolves this series was they got out coached. He wasn't making the adjustments necessary from game to game, and Jason Kidd kind of started walking circles around him as the series went on.
What adjustments would you have made? Are you taking Rudy out? I had this argument with some people on like, do you take Rudy out?
It's I want to say yeah, but he had some moments in certain games that can push back against that. I think like and it's not even a game to game thing. I think once you see what is going on in the Kyrie Irving Anthony Edwards matchup, you're looking to switch. Not so much because like okay, we need somebody better to defend Kyrie, but this is my star player here, and this defensive matchup right now is not working out in his favor as far as when he needs to get back on offense.
I think Anthony Edwards did look gassed. I think they had a chance to win that game too, the one that Luka hit the step back. And he had like two turnovers in like the last minute or so, which was like uncharacteristic, but he just looked tired. Uh he actually looked better as the series went on, but coming off that big game seven, you can see he was gassed. There was that report about like he was getting like oxygen on the sideline. I don't know how
Mhm.
true that part is, but he did look a little gassed. And Minnesota had their chances in this series. Most of those games, besides that last game, were pretty close. A couple changes here and there, a couple made shots here and there, and it's a 2-2 series maybe. Like I said, at the end of that game too, if uh, Edwards doesn't turn the ball over, you think that they probably go up maybe three, and that Luka three, if he gets that three, ends up tying it or whatever. So it's a different game. If he doesn't get those two turnovers, maybe they win. So it could be a like maybe the moment was just too big for them. But I think coming off that 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 Nugget series, that they were kind of gassed a little bit. And then the Nuggets series was more of a fit for them because you're playing against a big and you got those bigs down there. I think where the coach messed up is I would have took Rudy out and played Nas and Cat together. Cat was struggling offensively, but I think he can move his feet a little better defensively. And he decided to stay with Rudy and take Cat out more, which is kind of confusing to me. I think you kind of even with Cat missing, you still want his offense out there. Uh, but hey, the Mavs played a great series. Luka and Kyrie going off. At some point, there's only so much you can do with that. But the Wolves did have their chances, and they made that change at the end because they ended up putting McDaniels on the Kyrie and then put Anthony Edwards on the Luka, which is probably a little better matchup. He's not moving as much as Kyrie was, help him catch his breath a little bit. You know, Luka plays at a slower pace, so. Uh, my thing was, I think you take out Rudy, he looked lost sometimes on offense and then on defense. they were kind of attacking him in that pick and roll, whether he's dropping or switching. It just wasn't a good matchup.
To me, like the biggest thing, I'm glad you said that because like a lot of the games in that series actually were close. And Minnesota had some leads that they just drastically one I forgot what game it was. They had an 18-point lead and just completely blew it. It's like I know last show we said well, we talked about like some people were calling the Timberwolves a young team, and I pushed back on that because people were focusing so much on Anthony Edwards. Meanwhile, the rest of these guys, they've been around for quite some time now. But the huge difference to me in this series was just the simple fact that Minnesota wasn't able to close out games. Dallas was able to close out games when they needed them to. And that went back to, okay, maybe this team is a little too young because that's exactly what you see from young teams in those big spots, those positions. They're not usually able to close out. Also, Karl Anthony Towns, you've been in this league how long, bro? Consistent foul trouble? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Come on, man.
Yeah, and was on him about his foul trouble. I think he wasn't really hitting shots either. So a tough series for them all along. They're coming off a tough 7 game series, so they might have just ran out of gas. Like you say, that team is young, but they're not like their best player was young, but they wasn't real young. Cat's been in the league for a while. Rudy's been in the league for a while. Uh, Mike Conley was been in the league for a while, so they wasn't super young, but their best player was young. I think they kind of just ran out of gas there. They ran into a Dallas team that's playing well, kind of clicking on all cylinders on offense and defense, and then uh, they just couldn't really figure those two guys out in the end, and that's kind of what cost them.
Yeah, I just like, the post game presser. Anthony's talking about how we'll be back and stuff. You gotta the biggest like look at the hat that I'm wearing right now. The biggest thing is like it's not easy to get back in these spots. A lot of teams have said they'll be back. It's never easy, especially in an NBA summer that's always chaos. And we know from the project from the reports going back to last summer there's supposed to be a lot of movement in the NBA this summer. So I think that's going to be something weary for the Wolves going into this. Obviously, you want to fix some of the things that you messed up on in this series, the things that cost you this series. If you're a cat, you want to work on your shooting a little more. You want to figure out ways to not be in
Oh,
foul trouble.
Cat puts up 1,500 shots a day.
I guess it just wasn't his. Those just weren't his nights then. But
He
maybe
say he
take
puts
less
up.
shots. I don't know. But
He say he puts up 1,500 shots a day.
and maybe he's got to put up 20 because that was bad.
It's all
Um,
about matchups. I think Denver was a better matchup for them because uh, Jokic is a big man. They had two big men to kind of attack him. That matchup against the Mavs was just a bad matchup. They have two guards, two shifty guards. You're putting those bigs in pick and rolls all day. If they're dropping, you're just throwing the lob. If they're switching, we're just attacking you. So that's why I said I would have rather had Cat and then switch, and you can kind of live with Cat moving his feet on the perimeter. He'll make it a lot tougher than Rudy would. You saw what happened at the end of game two. So that's why I said I kind of would have went with Cat regardless. But he decided to go with Rudy, and in that case, you got to play drop, or you got to live with that switch like at the end of game two, and you saw what's happening there.
but was he going? So like, because the last game everybody was in foul trouble, but was he going to Rudy because he felt like it was the better matchup, or just because Karl Anthony Towns is playing with 5 fouls into the fourth quarter?
I mean, Karl Anthony Towns with 5 fouls is probably plays into it, but even still, I would go small and I put Nas at the five and then put and play Kyle Anderson. But I think that when you look at it, it's like Rudy is our defensive anchor, and we have these two guys that we're trying to stop. So, and then they also have big men. So you kind of want to, in theory, it sounds like you should play Rudy, but they ran into the same problem that everyone else that had Rudy in the playoffs run into. People go small and they tack him in a switching role, whether he's playing drop or whatever. It's the same problem the Jazz had when he was there all those years, and they were the one seed a couple times. All the reasons why the Jazz got eliminated, the same thing happened here. So it's the same problem. In theory, it sounds like you should do it, but you should not play it.
I was a little surprised I didn't see more of Kyle Anderson in the series too. But like we got him way later than we should have.
Draymond was big on him playing. Obviously, you wanted to see what those two bigs were going to give you to start the series, and after you see from there, you make adjustments. So I think he went to that Kyle Anderson adjustment later on in the series, but mm, still, I don't think he picked the right big to go with him.
But this is why like I'm kind of starting to feed into the narrative that Draymond's been pushing the last couple weeks. Like even though like this was the best year that they've had since they put this group together. It's like what Stephen A. Smith says about the Cowboys when we're talking about Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. Like when you need them most, they will let you down. And they got far, they got to the conference finals, but when you needed both of them most, they let you down in astronomical ways. If I'm pointing at anybody to lose this series, obviously you got to look at coaching, but neither of those guys performed in the biggest spots when you needed them to. And for Karl Anthony Towns, it's bigger than anything because obviously Ant's your best player, but originally this was your team. You were the guy that's supposed to lead everybody where they need to go. And you were he was almost Rockets versus Warriors bad when it came to his shooting in this series.
Yeah, when those other two guys are going off, you need your second best player to play well. And then, excuse me. And then when your best player also looks a little gash, you need that second best player to come in and help give him a breather on offense. So yeah, I mean him playing better was obviously he needed to play better and that was a problem, but it is what it is. He puts up 1,500 shots a day, so he'll bounce back.
Our guy might eat fresh. Do you keep Cat or trade? You keep him. That's funny. I was just about to ask what can this group do moving forward? You do keep him. You're not gonna get rid of him. He's the second best player. He's a core player at that. I don't know. Mike Conley's not getting any younger. He just finished year 17 in the league. He was a big improvement at point guard for this team, considering, last season with D'Lo, they had one of the worst net ratings in the league. But obviously that point guard is going to be a position of need in the future. So for me, I think who are they going to bring in?
I
Cat for Randall.
you know what I'm gonna say. You got to trade Rudy. Everything points to you have to trade Rudy. You look at past history, like I was just saying with the Jazz, you got to trade Rudy. How about Rudy for Randall? I like that.
Is Randall the guy though? I mean, I'm gonna
If I,
assume this is a Knicks fan saying this. Is Randall the guy that gets you over the hump?
if
I say no.
if I'm the T Wolves, I'm trading Rudy. I'm keeping Cat. You keep Cat.
I agree with that though, but not for Randall. I don't think that rent you trading Rudy for Randall is not moving the needle. It might make you worse.
Listen.
Maybe.
If you're the Knicks, you got Mitchell Robinson, right? But he's always hurt. Think about if you had Rudy this year instead of Hartenstein.
But you're
Think
talking about
about
the
it.
Knicks. Of course, if I'm the Knicks, I want that deal. Absolutely, if I'm the Knicks, I want that deal. I'm talking from the perspective of Minnesota.
The
And
comments
if
are
I'm
saying
if I'm in the pursuit of a championship, did
the cop.
somebody in them comments tell me right now that Julius Randle is a piece on a missing championship team? I dare you.
I need a. If I'm the T Wolves, I just want to get rid of Rudy. I just at this point give me a bag of chips. I, uh, nah, I'm joking. But I want to get rid of Rudy. So if they give me Randall and I need like a playmaker. They need another playmaker, which I think hurt them in that conference finals. Uh,
Okay. Hear me out then. I'll take the Randall deal if you will give me if you want to give me Yeah. Give me your backup point guard and I'll take Randall off your hands.
Who is their backup point guard?
Isn't it Deuce McBride?
I thought he's a shooting guard.
Okay, he's a shooting guard. Give me McBride and I'll take Randall off your hands.
I think they're
You
high on
gotta give
McBride.
something to get. You gotta give something to get.
They're high on McBride. They traded. That's. I think that's why they traded some players away to free up space for him. So I think they're high on McBride. So I don't think they'll give him up.
Look,
So
Julius Randle is a distressed asset. We're not, this guy it's been 2 seasons now that he's been injured. He was able to play, but he was playing injured. We all know that. And then he missed half the season this year. I'm not trading as much as I would love to get rid of Gobert. I'm not trading him. That's not nah, I can't do that. I need something else in there. I need a sweet I- n- this might sound crazy, but like he's like it's like when the Nets had given up all their picks in the Paul Pierce KG trade. So and then Sean Marks comes in, and the first thing that he does is he's taking on players that nobody wants to, be able to get other things so he can rebuild the team. Like, okay, I'll take who's the center from the Lakers, the European dude. They were taking on all the Lakers' crazy contracts, and then they ended up getting
Mozgov.
D'Lo. Timothy Mozgov, right. It's like that to me. Yes, we'll take Randall, but Randall's not like the guy we really want in this deal.
So you really want McBride?
You got to give some like I'm not gonna hold you. I might even ask for one of the Villanova players.
And you're not getting one of them.
Then
They're
I don't want to do the deal. I don't want to do the deal. I'm not trading Rudy straight up for Julius Randle. How
listen.
does that how does that get me to the NBA finals?
If I'm the T Wolves, I'm doing that trade and I'm blocking the Knicks phone number. Give me Randall for for what you would call it. I'm doing a trade and then I'm blocking the Knicks phone number. They better not call me and say anything else to me.
Nah. I don't have recency bias. I've been Randall. Let's talk about Randall. Is Randall not a ball stopper? Do we remember remember RJ Barrett is somebody whose success is predicated on having the ball in his hands. We all remember a point where RJ Barrett was killing for a couple weeks. He was doing his thing. Did Randall look like the happiest teammate when RJ Barrett was doing his thing? No, he did not, because that took the ball out of his hands a lot more than he was accustomed to.
If that's the
That's
case, you have to trade him regardless because if he comes back, the ball's gonna be in Brunson's hand 90% of the time now.
But you're talking about it from the Knicks perspective. From the Knicks perspective, I'm all in. Let's ship them out of there. They should be trying to do that this summer. But from the Minnesota perspective, I need to make a move that's going to get me further next year than where I was at this year. Somebody said it in the comments already. The West is loaded. If I get rid of Gobert for Julius Randle, is that moving the needle? Do I beat Dallas next year swapping Gobert for Julius Randle? I say no.
Uh that's I think you could beat Dallas, but you probably lose to Denver now. That's what I was just saying about it's like matchups. It's like a matchup thing. I think Randall would have helped them better in this Dallas series because he could get his own shot. He's someone else that can help them in that case. But you probably lose to Denver. But then again, no, because Cat was guarding Jokic half the time. Rudy wasn't even guarding him. So like, nah, I'm doing the trade. Yeah, I think you get farther. It's all about matchups at the end of the day, but I think you get further because
Yeah,
Rudy wasn't even guarding Jokic.
but then they ended up getting cooked by Derek Lively, rookie Derek Lively.
I mean, that's because you're trying to stop Lucas so much. He's just throwing lobs. It's every team in the playoffs had the same problem. You're trying to stop Luca on the drop coverage. He's just throwing the lob over the top. So that's that. You got to switch your defense in that point. That it doesn't matter who's on the court at that point. And Randall might be better because you I guess I don't know about Randall's defense, but you might switch that instead of being in drop coverage. When you have Rudy, you have to be in drop coverage. He could not move his feet. You saw it happen in game two. You have to be in drop coverage. You do not have another option. I mean, you could blitz him, which is what I probably would do. I'd blitz him off the screen.
I don't think the Knicks are the team that you should be calling if you're Minnesota. I think if you're the Knicks, you definitely call Minnesota. But if you're Minnesota, I don't know if that's the team you want to.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I'm the Knicks, I'm not calling Minnesota. I do. I don't want Rudy for all the reasons that I said before. In the East, maybe he helped you with the Embiid matchup, but besides that, you're gonna have the same problems that everyone else had.
Rudy, take the team they got now, minus Randall, put Rudy in. You just talked about how Mitchell's always hurt. Rudy's the piece that gets you to the Eastern Conference Finals. If you're opposite of Boston.
Rudy also could be the piece why you get knocked out in the first round because he can't
By
guard
who
nobody.
though? Who in the West who in the East is outside of
Boston,
like
outside of Boston.
outside of Boston, you're probably gonna bring up Embiid, and then I'm gonna ask you, is he gonna be around in that series?
No, I think Embiid, Rudy helped you against Embiid, but I'm thinking anybody else, he might give you some problems. Uh,
Who
Anyone else, he might give you some problems. But
By the
in
way, can we stop giving this man Defensive Player of the Year? Like, please cut. Like, they stopped giving guys MVP. They stopped giving LeBron and Jordan MVP because they were tired of giving it to the same guy. Do we not care about Defensive Player of the Year? Because
you
he's not
lose,
Defensive Player of the Year when you need him to be. He never
you lose,
has been.
you lose to the Bucks if you got Rent, if you got Rudy. Giannis is gonna kill him. You gonna put Giannis at the five, and Giannis is gonna kill him.
Yeah, but you're
Uh,
gonna lose to them anyway
that's
if
debatable.
Giannis is in that series.
That's debatable. I mean, yeah, you probably lose to the Heat regardless. Listen, Rudy's gonna give you problems
Don't
though.
don't get me started on the Heat. We're gonna have to stop talking about the Heat. Yeah, I'm hiding my hat now. We're gonna have to start talking. We're gonna have to stop talking about the Heat if they don't make a move this summer.
That's debatable. But we're going on side tangents. We're getting to the finals.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk finals now.
We've got the Boston Celtics going up against the Dallas Mavericks. We talked earlier about storylines. It's Kyrie Irving versus his former team. And then it's Kristaps Porzingis, who is going to be back for game number one against.
Did we freeze?
We're there.
What'd you say? I think we froze for a second. Technical difficulties.
Okay, we're
Technical
back. Sorry about
difficulties.
that. We're back. Sorry about that, y'all. Um, Kristaps Porzingis tried to downplay his beef with Luka Doncic. I definitely think we see two players who are motivated to beat their former teams. Kyrie infamously went on Boston's court and said, "I want to be here for the rest of my career if you'll have me," and then decimated the team and left for Brooklyn. And then the Luka Kristaps Porzingis thing it looked great in the beginning and then just kind of started to fall apart, and you could see the frustration between him and Luka as that season went on before he ended up getting traded. So I think you see two players who are going to be motivated to try and help their teams win this series. If I'm a betting man, it's going to be Kyrie for me more than it's going to be Porzingis. And then on the flip side, you have a Boston team who's been a constant topic of conversation when it comes to, can this team get over the hump and win a championship? I'm of the belief that this is a super team. Me personally,
Boston
we've
is?
yes, personally, I feel that way. Because at once upon a time ago, Kristaps Porzingis was a star in this league. The only thing that derailed Kristaps Porzingis from being the great player that he could have been was injuries. Rest in peace, Bill Walton. That's kind of the trajectory of where Kristaps Porzingis is at for me. And it's ironic because he's on the Celtics now.
Uh,
Yes, you start Porzingis.
You start him. If he's healthy enough to go, you kind of have to start him. About Porzingis, I don't know if I'll say that the Celtics are like a super team, but I get what you're getting at. You think about you got Drew Holiday, Derek White's been playing at a high level in the playoffs. You got Tatum, you got Brown, and then you add Porzingis to it. I think Porzingis would be motivated. I think both players would be motivated to play their former teams because they got rid of him. I think that's just kind of maybe human nature at that point. But I think Kyrie, we don't really know how the Mavericks thing kind of ended for Porzingis. I guess everyone has like their predictions, but we know that Kyrie and Boston ended on bad terms. We've seen them play each other in the playoffs a couple times after that. Kyrie has seemed like he's in a better space or whatever now, but I think he'll be more motivated than Porzingis just to because if he loses this finals in Boston, he's never going to hear the end of it. So not only to get back to the top, I think for it to be against them, he's going to be super motivated just for everything that happened and how they treated him after he left. I mean, you know what they say, you forgive, but you don't forget.
Yeah. I mean, he has a way of coming back from it if he ever wins a championship again, which I think he's capable of. But
But
yeah, it would look in the immediate, it would look pretty bad.
I'm saying, well, if they lose in the finals, like everyone else will be fine with it. I just think going up, like Boston, the city, is never going to let them
Oh
down. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, they're killing it.
they're not letting them down now, but they're never going to let them down if they beat them in the championship. So I think he's motivated just so he has those bragging rights because now he goes back and people saying "f you, f you." I'm just going to point to my finger and I give him some flashbacks.
So they're in Boston for game one, right?
Yes, Boston has home court advantage.
Remember last time he had to go over there for a playoff series. I mean, don't get me wrong, he balled, but they lost. And every time he touched the ball, every time he had a moment where he was just on the side or something, they were letting him have it. I think tomorrow night is going to be ruthless for Kyrie Irving. I do think he'll answer the call, but it is going to be a hostile environment over there.
That's why I said he'll be more motivated than Porzingis. I think when Porzingis goes back to Dallas in the series, they're
I
not
think they're
really
gonna let
gonna.
him hear it over there. It's not gonna be as bad as
Ah,
Boston, but Dallas isn't a sports city. Like it's a sports city, but it's not the sports city Boston is.
I just think that like it didn't. It was like a quiet breakup, and I think it was kind of like mutual in a way. Like it kind of wasn't working there. Like the Kyrie thing was like,
But
hey, we still wanted you, and you broke our heart.
well, to be fair, the Boston breakup was a little more complex than we wanted you and you broke our heart. He got hurt and they were babies. He was supposed to be the guy that taught all of them how to win. He gets hurt. These guys are all babies at the time, and they go to the conference finals without him. Now he's coming back the next season, and it's like, all right, you guys got to listen to me. Like, I'm gonna get you there. And they're like, we just got there without you. We don't need you. And that maybe there was other things in there too that soured the relationship, but there was that. On the Luca Kristaps Porzingis thing, like I said, we all can agree that it originally when they put them together, it looked like it was gonna work, right? They did look good together. Somewhere along the lines between his injuries and then just Luca's play style, it was tough to watch. Like Luca, I've said it on this show for years now, reminds me of James Harden in Houston. I think that was more of a detriment to why it wasn't working more than anything. And at that point, they're like, well, we're not going to keep you. We can't trust you. And we drafted Luca. That's our guy. And not for nothing, he's got way more star power than you do.
I mean, like, yeah, but all that is why I said that Kyrie would be more motivated. It was more of a harsh breakup. I think the Porzingis thing was like, hey, we tried it, it didn't work. We went our separate ways. Kyrie was more like, hey, this should have worked, but we're not over it. We still wanted to keep trying it, but maybe it's not working. Maybe it is. We don't know, but you left too soon.
You know what
It's
we're not
compli It's
talking
they were in a it's complicated situation.
You know what we're not talking about as far as these matchup goes that we should. We're talking so much about Luca or not Luca, Kristaps and Kyrie. What about those other guys in Boston? What about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? You don't think they're gonna look at Kyrie opposite of them and pause, try and give him the business?
I mean, I think they're gonna go at each other because they're competitors, but I think like they were kind of like you, the point you just brought up, they were kind of fine before him, and they're kind of fine after him. So I think they're not probably as motivated to beat him. They're kind of just like it's a friend that left. Uh, you know what I mean? Like they were fine before him, they were fine after him. There's no need for them to have this extra motivation. I think they're gonna go at him just because they're competitors, but I don't even know if they're built like that either. The Celtics get me tight, but that's another conversation.
I think that they felt they kind of like looked at him like he was an annoyance to them at one point though. Is that see that was probably like the worst season they've ever had. And it was
Uh,
because of like there was so much distractions and there were points where it just seemed like they didn't like him.
I'll be honest, I didn't watch them that much, but I wasn't watching. They did go out bad to the Bucks in that series, but like I said, I think they're kind of indifferent about how it ended.
We definitely gonna find out. Mighty Fresh with another nice question here. Who needs the championship more? I guess this is where we can kind of get into our picks a little bit. But to I feel like you're gonna say the same thing. To me, it's the Celtics, just because of all the conversation that's been around them the last couple of years, and people have been for years now have been calling for this team to be broken up. We've talked about it on this show. If they can't win it this year, do you say you've capped out on this roster and you've got two guys making 300 plus million, which is taking up all of your cap space to sign other players? It's like we've taken this as far as it could go. This is it. Let's move on. Because of that, I think it's the Celtics.
I
This Mavs team is fresh to me. Like this is last year was like experiment. You bring in Kyrie halfway through the season, and then his first full season, y'all go to the NBA Finals. I don't feel like the pressure's on them like it's on Boston.
Yeah, it's tough. I agree with everything you said. I think Boston's case is like they've been knocking on the door kind of for so long that those guys kind of seem older than maybe what they really are. They still young and they still have time, but they always been right there to the point where it's like, do we blow this roster up? But since you picked the Celtics, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and Hodge actually just took everything that I was about to say right out of my mouth. I think the Mavs need it more because the West is just a tougher conference. Kyrie's also getting older; he's not getting younger, and the West is like the Celtics, as Hodge just said, probably will be in the conference finals again next year. Like it's gonna be the Bucks maybe in their way, the Heat, whatever. And a couple of those guys gonna knock each other off. So their likelihood to be playing for a championship again is probably at like 90%, give or take. The Mavs in a certain case, like the West is mad tough. Like, and like I was just saying to you with the Wolves thing, it's about matchups. They may just run into a bad matchup in the first round. Like, who knows what's going to happen with the Lakers, the Warriors, the Grizzlies are coming back and they're still
Ooh, the
young.
Lakers.
The the Thunder are only getting better. Like, there's so many teams out there. The Wolves are probably going to get better. The Nuggets are going to be right back, depending on where they match up, and that might be a bad matchup for them. So the West is just super tough to get through. So I think the Mavs need it more for the fact that they might not even make it to the conference finals next year.
Not mad at that. Not mad at that. I see what you did there. Um, yeah, I mean that's where we're at with it. You want to get into these picks? If you guys got any other questions for us, please let us know, man. We are definitely in to talk whatever you guys want to talk today. Um, love how you brought up the getting back there and stuff. We just talked about that with the Timberwolves and everything. 90% with Boston because of where the East is at. Um, look, man, when I look at Boston, I feel like everything has lined up perfectly for them to finally get to the top of the mountain, to finally get it done. The matchups kept playing in their favor. Guys kept getting hurt. They haven't been tested at all going into this finals, where the Mavs similar haven't completely been tested, but they've been a lot more battle
Ooh.
tested than Boston has. I want to pick Boston. It pains me to say that because I'm not a Boston fan. I want to pick Boston to win this series, but then when you look at how they give games away, it's hard to take them seriously as a title contender. And Dallas is not the team that you play around with. So it's tough. It's tough.
I'll say this before I guess you go. I think the Celtics have the better matchups. I think if you look at everything, the Celtics can switch everything for the most part. Maybe you don't want Porzingis switching, but that's like the only one where you might not switch. And I feel like Porzingis should be good enough to kind of hold his own and at least force those guys to the rim. Where the Mavs have been able to get a lot of points for their others off that pick and roll. You're going downhill, you're throwing that lob if they drop. You're going downhill, throwing it, kicking it to the corner because they're overhelping. I think that switching takes kind of that out for them, and now you're kind of it's a one-on-one game now. You're maybe hunting matchups just for Kyrie and Luka to be able to go one-on-one, and then on the offensive end for the Celtics, Gafford has been hanging around the paint all playoffs. If you watch the Mavs all playoffs, Gafford and Lively have just been camping in the paint. That's why
Yeah, that 1-2 combo is crazy.
The Thunder series, uh, Shea just had to kill them in mid ranges. Like if you look at the games that they won, Shea's just hitting a whole bunch of mid ranges, mid range jump shots. So like KP coming back, and if he's playing well, causes a problem for the Mavs on defense because now Gafford has to come away from the rim. He can't camp in the paint no more, which leaves the rim open because he's like their only shot blocker there. Now those guys have to be able to hold their ground and not let you get beat because you don't have that help behind you no more.
Agree with everything you said. Agree. Shout out B Hodge. Agree with him too. Do you trust Missoula to make those calls though?
I'm picking the Mavs in six. I do not believe in the Celtics. I think they have the better. I think they got the better matchup. They got a home court advantage. Kind of what you were just saying, bro. They play around too much for me. They always give a game away, and you kind of can't do that in this series. Even if you look at the final series a few years back, they always end up giving the game away. Uh, so you think they give one away? Kyrie probably get you one. Luca probably get you one. And then the Mavs have been great on the road this year. They haven't had home court advantage in none of these series. They won like well I guess besides the Wolf series they won game one and game two, but they won game two. They stole home court in every series they've been in. So they're battle tested on the road. I think the Mavs figure it out eventually. I think the Celtics give it away, and I think the Mavs find a way to get it done. They're gonna get it done in six. They're gonna steal one of these first two games, and they'll get it done in six.
I pray, I actually pray that this series goes 7 games. Because not for nothing, y'all don't have to agree with me. I kind of think that this is the worst postseason that we've had in the NBA in quite a while.
In the East, the West was fun to watch. The West was mad exciting. The East, I was like walking
The
my
West
dog,
was
taking my
exciting until
dog
we
to.
got to the conference finals.
I was taking my dog to the park during the East games, all type of stuff. I was at home around like 9 o'clock. I was catching the Western Conference games. Uh, the conference finals were still entertaining enough. It wasn't as exciting as we thought it was gonna be, but like I said, game one and game two were close games. The Wolves kind of just blew it. Uh, yeah.
I'm gonna say 7 games. I want it to go 7 games. By the Scott Foster's reffing this. Who else is they said we got Scott Foster, Tony Brothers, James Williams, Mark Davis, Bill Kennedy, Zach Zarba, and Courtney Kirkland. That is a lineup right there that can get you 7 games. Give me the 7 games. I've been wrong like every series though. I know I said it feels like everything is lining up perfectly for Boston, but it's just too hard to trust them. So I'm gonna go Mavs. Mavs is 7. I
Mavs
think
at
Boston
7.
wins. Mavs is 7. I think Boston wins the first game. J Kidd has been phenomenal with his game two adjustments. You just talked about it. So I think that they get game two, and then it's what I because I think Jaylen Brown's gonna step up to the call. You know Jaylen Brown's a certified bucket for you. He always steps up when you need him to. Tatum, Tatum's been a little bit of a question mark when you need him to be sometimes. But I feel like this is the series where he can get it done. I feel like there's some motivation for him. And because of that, I got it going 7. I think the Celtics will push it to 7. And because they play around too much, I'm gonna take the Mavs. But
The Celtics have showed me nothing in that Pacers series for me to believe in them.
they
They
didn't have
none
the
of those games.
opportunity to show you anything.
No, they showed me those games shouldn't have been that close. They should have lost half of those games. Those games shouldn't have been that close. And if the Pacers just didn't suck and gave those games away, they might have been in like a 6, 7 game series, which
Didn't we
shouldn't have
feel the
happened.
same? Didn't we feel the same way? Remember 2016 going into that finals? Didn't we kind of feel the same way about the Cavs?
But that's different. The Cavs had LeBron, Kyrie. They were running through stuff because they had LeBron James. Like the Celtics don't have LeBron James.
But they
So
have Jason
this
Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
I'm gonna take that as a joke. That's not LeBron
I get what you're
James.
saying, but they're not devoid of talent. They've got two top 10 players in the league.
They're not LeBron James.
In this series, those two guys should be able to hold their own in this series.
If it goes 7, I might pick the Celtics because that means they're playing better than I expected. It should not go 7.
We should reconvene on this mid-series. Maybe do like an Instagram live or something.
We can come back on here mid-series. We give our thoughts. Let's see where we're at after game 3, going into game 4, because then it'll be 2-2. Maybe after game 4. See, because game 5 is always a big game if it's tied 2-2. Let's see how the beginning of the series goes, because it might be 3-1. It might not be much to talk
I'm
about.
motivated right now. It's gonna be when we come back on, it's gonna be 2-2.
Going back into Boston.
Going back to Boston is 2-2. Game five is always the pivotal game. Whoever wins, we know the statistics. Whoever wins game five is the team that usually goes on to win the series.
Boston's not going to win another game after that.
After game four or game five?
After game 4.
Okay.
2-2, they win in Boston. They close it out at home.
Man, I hope not though, because I need some excitement in these finals. I haven't been rocking with this
6 games
postseason.
is exciting. And like Haas just said,
Not if it ends that way.
If the Mavs win, the Celtics are supposed to win. I don't know if they're going to talk about him like Braun, but there's going to
Tatum.
be there're going to be a lot of talks about blowing that roster up. And I'm on board with blowing the roster up.
Y'all know me, man. But Hodge, I don't feel like you've been in here for the conversations I've had on this. So please let us know what you think. I still feel like I don't trust Missoula. You talk about them giving games away. To me, that's coaching. He's still a bit of a rookie coach. So, what are the changes that you can make there before you go to blow this roster up? It's the voice, it's the leading voice. I don't know who would be the guy, but I feel like you got to go coach and change before you blow it up.
But they have 3 coaches now. The East is not going to be this week again. So there's not even no guarantee that they make it to the finals.
But I'm not gonna let you do that though, because look at the circumstances behind the 3 coaches. The first one, he didn't get fired. He moved into management, and he's been
He's
doing a
a
pretty good job there.
he's a better GM.
Ime did some stuff off the court. Otherwise, he'd still be there right now. And that's why we have Missoula. It's not like nobody was gone because of performance.
Uh, I mean, Missoula would be gone because who else could you bring in there, right? If say they lose and Missoula gets fired, who else are you bringing in there that you think is going to take you over the top?
Did Budenholzer get hired anywhere yet?
Yeah, he's the Suns coach. I'm not even. I wouldn't even be convinced if you hired Budenholzer.
Bring back Doc. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. Maybe you want to steal somebody off the Heat's bench. I don't know. There's not really a there's not really a commodity.
exactly. So if you're gonna get rid of him, it's always like who you gonna get rid of him for.
Yeah, it's the same conversation we have about the Knicks and Thibodeau.
Nah, we're not having that conversation about Tibbs. I think Tibbs' job is pretty safe.
Knicks fans are having that conversation about Tibbs.
That he should go
Yes,
for what? It's the best they ever
because
did.
of everything that we say about Tibbs.
Uh, I mean,
I don't agree that he should go.
like
The only way you
yeah, but y'all were one win away from the conference finals. Let's just let Tibbs play it out.
there's nobody else doing that except Spoelstra. What Tibbs just did.
Spo's not doing that, but Tibbs
What?
playing people 40 minutes a night.
No, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. Like taking them that far.
Oh, in the yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. His job is safe. He's not going nowhere. They're gonna here's what the Knicks are gonna do this summer. They're gonna convince the hating Brooklyn Nets to trade them
It's not
Michael
happening,
Bridges.
bro. Stop it. It's not happening.
Bro,
It's not happening.
The Nets low key have to do it. They have to do it. If they trade him anywhere besides New York, no one's ever gonna play for them again.
How? Why would you like? What do you, bro? They just look at what the Nets have got through them in the last 6 years.
Bro, after the KD and Kyrie saga, you trade Bridges, everyone knows he wants to go across the street to New York. You trade him, if you don't trade him to New York, it's really because you don't want to trade him to New York. No one's gonna play for you guys again. No one's
The
playing for
the
you guys
only
again.
the only thing the Nets have to do is take Ben Simmons to go see some Western medicine. Because at this point, that you got to go holistic with Ben Simmons. Get him back to where you need him to be. Find a way to fix his back, and they're gonna be killing again.
The Ben Simmons train is off the track. It's time for a full blow up reset
No,
for the
I'm bro,
Nets.
no way. Because at one point they look way better when Simmons plays and he plays to his abilities. They're a playoff. They're at the very least they're a playing team. They're a 7-8 seed with with
You
a with a healthy Ben Simmons.
you keep waiting on that if you want. We'll see how we'll see in 3 years where that statement has gotten you. I'm blowing that roster up. Now I'm gonna do a good deed by trading that guy over to the Knicks. We're gonna reset this franchise real well. The Knicks got the picks. It's not even like the Knicks don't have stuff to offer them. If you don't trade them to New York to the Knicks, it'll literally just be because you don't want to trade them to the Knicks. That is the only place for that guy to go, and I hate that
Who are
he
you
has
giving
to.
up? Who are you giving up?
The Knicks
First of all, that's not even the first call you should be making. If you're the Knicks, you're calling Cleveland
for what?
before you call Brooklyn. I
For
want
what?
Donovan Mitchell. If I'm the New York
No,
Knicks, I
no,
want
no,
Donovan Mitchell.
no, 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 no. If I'm New York, the first place
No
I'm
way.
doing is I'm going over to Brooklyn. I'm walking in that guy's office and I'm saying, I'm not leaving until you trade me Bridges.
You're sent and you think that they're cool with receiving Julius because that's the trade. You're sending Julius to Brooklyn.
No, but they're cool with all the draft picks and stuff that you can give them. Then you
You
give up
think the Knicks will
McBride.
give up they're trying the Nets aren't trade or the Nets are not trading him to the if anything the Nets are going to hit up Houston and try and get their draft picks back.
That is, I mean, while that is like a good idea, you gotta trade them to the Knicks. Their franchise is on the line. You gotta listen to me right now. Their franchise is on the line. They need to do right by him. And like any team that he gets traded to, He's gonna go to the Knicks regardless. Just trade him to the Knicks. Like he's basically on the Knicks at this point. Like is just wait for his contract to come up. Just send him to the Knicks. Anyone that
He
trades for
just
him,
got paid. He
right? And
just got paid. He ain't going nowhere.
if I'm his agent, I'm telling teams you can trade for him. We'll play out the rest of this contract. Don't ask me about no contract extension. You know where we
You
going.
think
You know where
you
we going.
think you think if he ends up if he ends up in Houston, he wouldn't stay in Houston with what's going on in Houston right now?
No,
It's either there's no state tax in Houston.
no, no, no. His
He's seeing
friends are
all of that money.
his
And
friends
he
are
gets to
up the
play. Look who he gets to play with and for.
bro. His friends are up the block. I don't know why that bubble just popped up. His
Yeah, it
friends
was
are up
weird.
the his friends are up the block, turning the city upside down. He's not going nowhere else. Like he's not going
How
nowhere else.
I hear what you guys are saying.
You
How can the Knicks give the better package when Houston has the Nets draft rights for the next 5 years?
that's what I'm saying. That's like the only other trade where it was like, all right, that makes sense.
And not for nothing, I don't feel like at this point with the season that they just had, why are you giving up a crate? You don't. Mikal Bridges is a commanding 4 or 5 first round draft picks. Let's relax.
You said why would you trade him?
I think if they trade with the Nick, no, I'm saying like with the season the Nets just had and Bridges, he's not. It's not like when he got sent to Brooklyn in the KD trade. He's not a player that's commanding 4 to 5 draft picks in a first round draft picks in a trade. I think the only way that the Nets actually ask for all right, I take it because the only two teams that they're going to be willing to do that for, they're going to ask the Knicks for that, or it's no deal. Because it's a New York rivalry. It's like if the Yankees and the Mets tried to trade, or the Giants and the Jets, they're gonna ask for the farm, and if it's Houston, they're gonna ask for their draft picks back.
If the Knicks have enough to give him, that's a fair trade, I think. Honestly, the thing is, here's my thing. He's going there regardless. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Whether you keep him for these next couple of years, I mean, you can trade him away and let him be someone else's problem. But like, he's going to the Knicks regardless. Like, he's going to the Knicks. It's basically all like he's going to the Knicks. No one can stop that. You can trade him to Houston. He'll probably have a great time in Houston. But like, does he want to be with Jalen Green and his baby mama? Probably not. He's going to New
Yo,
York with his friends. They turning up the block. They turning the city upside
you
down.
ain't have to do
He's
that.
going.
You ain't have to do.
He's going to the Knicks.
Oh man, this is another side tangent we're going on. Man, NBA free agency is gonna be great. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna take Dallas in 7. K, you said Dallas in 6.
Dallas in 6. The Celtics got the better matchups though, so I wouldn't be too surprised if the Celtics win. But Mavs in 6.
If the Celtics win this series, Missoula is gonna have to find a way in the next 24 hours to evolve as a head coach.
Uh, Not really. Like they got the better matchups. They Loki like if they play well, they Loki should win. Like they should be the heavy favorite. But
You could have the greatest army in the world, but if your general doesn't know how to use his soldiers, it's not gonna look good for you.
if he messes like if he messes this up like on a coaching standpoint, then he probably should be fired. Like if they just don't play well and lose, then it's like all right. But if he mess like he literally doesn't have to do nothing. It's kind of set. They already switch all the time. They already play 5 out. Like it's just a better matchup. He doesn't really have to do much. He just has to kind of. They just have to play well.
On
I mean,
some level, he's gonna have to outcoach Jason Kidd, which I don't see right now.
and then the Mavs are going to make adjustments. Here's what I do. We switch everything when both of them are on the floor. When Kyrie and Luca are on the floor. As soon as Kyrie goes to the bench, we're blitzing Luca. Get the ball out of his hand. Let Lively catch it at the free throw line and make him make a decision. That's what I'm doing.
We'll see if he falls through with it, man. So yeah. Both of us got Dallas winning this series. Kyrie gets ring number 2. Luka gets his first championship. And we will find out starting tomorrow how that thing goes. Kay, you got anything else for the people before we get out of here?
Nah, I appreciate everyone pulling up. Some great questions in here today. We went on a side tangent about the Knicks. Shout out to the Knicks. Uh, yeah, that's it.
All right, man. So great final series coming up. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to see you guys after game 5. And when I say
Game
hopefully,
four.
it's
If
yeah,
it's
after
tied two
game 4.
two,
I'm sorry.
yeah, if it's tied 2-2, we'll be there'll be a lot to talk about some adjustments that need to be made, some that were made, and what the rest of the series will look like. And that should be in about a week. So yeah, after game
For
four.
sure. For sure.
Come on.
So with that, man, it's Rich, it's Kayson signing off, and we will catch you guys next time. Peace.